Hello everyone, it's 𝐒𝐻𝐸, and it's time to talk about my first listen to Mercurial World, the debut album from this exciting new synth-pop duo Magdalena Bay. I hadn't even heard of this group till my good friend Al recommended them to me on a recent Twitch stream. We listened to 𝐒𝐻𝐸 and Chaeri, and I enjoyed them quite a bit, especially Chaeri with its dark, magical atmosphere. It seemed right up my street as a fan of things like The Knife and I Am I Who Am I, for example. But these guys seem to be approaching this style with a postmodern aesthetic similar to that of Grimes, so it feels fresh and new, and since hearing those singles I've been really excited to hear their debut album. So do me a favor and click the like button on this video and let's get into the album. The intro track is called The End, and it's a spoken word bit with an 80s vibe, and it makes me feel like we might be hearing the American version of Quiero Quiero Bonito.
I was thinking about how there's no true end to anything.
It sets the tone for the album really well, fun and a bit tongue-in-cheek, but not shallow by any means. The first song is the title track, Mercurial World, and the verse melody is really strong with what sounds to me like a lot of Madonna influence in the vocal delivery.
Hold me down to the earth.
The chorus is quite a bit dreamier, with the vocal delivery reminding me more of Grimes, so already you can see these combinations taking place. By the end, layers of arpeggiated synthesizers are raining down, and it reminds me of early I Am I Who Am I. So it really covers quite a lot of ground in just the length of a 3-minute pop song. The song ends with a nod to Madonna's Material Girl. Nice touch. Dawning of the Season has more of an upbeat disco vibe while still maintaining that dreamy atmosphere. I was reminded of MGMT, their hits like Electric Eel, you know? They really suck you into their world with the thick atmosphere here, all while keeping it dancey. I still hear the Madonna influence in the vocal delivery, but the atmosphere is all theirs. Partway through, some really nice chords begin to creep in. It really gives me a feeling of journeying into their world. And it all builds to this incredible key change towards the end. It's pretty sophisticated songwriting of the kind that you don't often hear in this kind of electronic pop music. Damn! And I have to say, the transition into the next song at this point is incredible. Oh my goodness. This is track 4, which is called Secrets, Your Fire, which was the first single put out for the album. It continues the funky disco vibe, and there's even more amazing songwriting going on here. The vocal melody is just beautiful. And the core lyric, I don't want to feed my oxygen to your fire, I love it.
I don't want to feed my oxygen to your fire.
When I first heard this song, it was along with its very charming music video, which I liked a lot. But listening to it without the video, I'm much more able to enjoy the impressive production and the emotion of the song. And it just feels great in the context of the album.
Make another friend.
Somewhere between disco and G-funk inspired pop lands this thing of beauty. And it all ends with layer upon layer of synths. It's huge, exciting, and gorgeous. Track 5 is third single, You Lose. I hadn't heard it before listening to the album though. And this one does change the mood of the album significantly with more of a pop-punk rhythm. And this alongside the aggressive use of chiptune reminds me quite a bit of Anna Managuchi, a great band who made use of that exact combination. I really like how gritty this sounds while still being really strongly melodic. And I'm also reminded of Crystal Castles, who were layering chiptune onto their aggressive female-led punk explosions. I wouldn't say this is one of the better tunes melodically for me, but it has great energy and a really nice lyric. And the intensity of the sound is really entertaining after the more slick sound of the previous tracks. The next song, track 6, is called Something for Two. The bass in the verse that opens this one is so dark, I love it. And the vocal style matches it to great effect.
That girl knew all the ways to blow the whole world apart. Yeah, that
The chorus of this one doesn't quite take off in the way I would like, but the overall feeling of the song reminds me in a good way of 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐳𝐵𝐿 Emotion, you know, especially in the vocal delivery.
like I built something for two, I'm burn it down.
It's not one of my favorites, this one, but it does build really well. I enjoy it more by the end.
Like I built something for two, like I built something for two.
Track 7 is Chaeri. This was the second single from the album, and this was the one that really got me excited about this band. The bass line alone creates so much great atmosphere and at the same time so groovy.
Regrets.
It reminds me of the early I Am, Am I, Who Am I stuff, songs like Oh and Kill. So funky and dancey, and yet it has all the atmosphere of an industrial ambient techno jam. And on top of all that, the melody is so strong and evocative. It's so immediately catchy and memorable, on top of all that great atmosphere. And towards the end, some incredible explosions of synth arpeggios only seal the deal for me. That ending with the chanted vocals in the background, again it reminds me of that wonderful I Am, Am I, Who Am I stuff, and it just sounds fantastic here. Track 8 is an interlude track, cleverly titled Halfway. It's half spasmodic rhythms and half cinematic synths in the second part, and it works really well after the emotional intensity of Chaeri. The next song, track 9, is called Hysterical Us. This was released as a last-minute 4th single, but again I hadn't heard it before listening to the album. It brings back some of the more upbeat disco vibes that we heard earlier in the album, and the production reminds me of some of Tame Impala's Currents material. This one doesn't move me as much as some of the other tracks do, but it sounds really good. And I get some more of those 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐳𝐵𝐿 vibes in the vocal delivery of this one. It is a pretty song, this one, but I think harmonically it just comes off as slightly blander than some of the other songs for me. Track 10 is called Prophecy, and this one changes up the mood just when I felt it was needed most. This is a cool change in mood. This one has more of a smooth R&B influenced sound. It reminds me of some of Janet Jackson's 90s stuff. I really enjoy the more rhythmic vocal delivery in this one, and the cinematic samples sweeping across the track work really well for me too. This song is a pretty sexy sounding track, but they somehow still managed to squeeze in a progressive rock sounding synthesizer, much to my delight. For just a little while, it sounds like something Yes might have done in the 70s. So yeah, this song works really well in its placement on the album. It has kind of a different texture to everything else. And all in all, I think it's a great track. The next one is called Follow the Leader, and I was more than happy to hear the return of that heavy bass and dark atmosphere from Chaeri. The bass line here is another winner. And her vocals sound really interesting on here. They're processed in a really intriguing way. Lots of high content really up in the mix in her voice, and something metallic sounding about it. The wordless vocals melded into the beat make for a really interesting mood, and the relentless arpeggiating synths besides some distant shouting reminds me again of Crystal Castles. This is another of my favorite tracks just for how heavy it feels. I love it. A really exciting change in tempo comes with track 12, Domino, and this is an extremely creative song. The chorus brings with it a wave of distorted bass that sounds more like something you might hear on a Sun album or something. Oh my god. But of course it's all over the top of this really lovely synth pop sound. It's a combination I feel like I haven't quite heard before. The melody and the hook are really strong as well. It's another excellent combination of great ideas and strong songwriting. There seems to me to be some more Grimes influence, especially in the vocal stylings. But on the whole, this is just a very unique sound to me and I love it. Wow. This is a really incredible run of tracks at this point in the album that continues into track 13, Dream Catching. This song reminds me of Quero Quero Bonito, particularly their most recent Civilization work. But the American vocal, as opposed to Sarah Bonito's British vocal, makes quite a bit more difference than you might expect. A rather unusual but very memorable hook on this one. Sounds great and they make use of it in multiple creative ways. In the second half of the song, they completely change the mood with these heavier drums and bass, while still employing that unusual hook on top of it. They put these different bass notes under the melody and it completely changes the way it feels. It becomes much darker and it's brilliant. Ah, that's ingenious. Oh my goodness. Another really unique sounding combination. It's impressive stuff. The last song is called The Beginning, and they round off the album by returning to those optimistic disco vibes. It has the triumphant feeling of making it through the darkness, now we party. And it gives the album a cyclical feeling by returning to the more upbeat sounds of earlier in the album, which is of course reflected in the song title. Nice. They're going for the big ending now. It's definitely not my favourite song on the album, this, but it works really well as a closer. This album is so packed with great ideas and memorable tunes that it goes by so quickly. It's very engaging, you know? I love how it feels like the album is taking you on a journey through different worlds, giving you all kinds of different feelings, with each song complementing the last one in interesting ways. It's not very common for pop artists to put so much attention into the album format, and even less common for them to do it this well. I'm especially impressed by this group's ability to bring in influences from the worlds of pop, R&B, dance music, styles from different decades across the 80s, 90s, 2000s, but still have the outcome feel so original and unique, just by force of how strong their songwriting and their personalities are. And the fact that this is just their debut album is quite astounding. For a relatively young group like these guys to be coming up with such interesting sounds and such strong songwriting, it's really impressive. So yeah, I'm really happy with this album. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of it, and let me know if you agree or disagree with my appraisals on each of the songs. So all of the clips in this video of my first listen to the album are from my stream over on Twitch. If you'd like to join me for more full album listening parties, you can follow me over there on Twitch at twitch.tv/JohnnyCouture. It'll be great to see you there. And if you've enjoyed this video, please consider supporting me with the link in the description to buy me a coffee. It helps me to be able to keep my channel going, keep making these videos, so I'll really appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take it easy.